So, as I was saying, shortage. Shortage is quantity demand is greater than the quantity supply. So, what we have happening here is that we have more people out there that want the product than what is available. Producers are not willing to offer very many products for sale at that particular price. Okay, so if we want to take a look at go back to our ice cream graph, okay, the ice cream graph that I keep using as an example, where do you suppose a shortage is going to be on my graph? Below equilibrium. So, your last color, go ahead and shade in the triangle below equilibrium with your last color and label it as a shortage. Okay, so shade in the bottom triangle on your graph with the fifth color and label it as a shortage. So you can tell, because you can pick out any particular price along on our graph, any price below equilibrium, and what you will find happening is that you will have the demand be greater than the supply. Yep, include that straight part. There's what was it, at $2, and $4. Include that part in there. It kind of looks like a really funky looking triangle now. And then honestly, that part is just because of the fact that we had some interesting numbers, and that was just because we had a smaller number. If we actually had more people, more sellers, and more buyers, it would equal out to more of a straight diagonal line. Okay, so that's our shortage. Okay, so shortages are always going to be below equilibrium. Now, how can we tell in a real life store that we have a shortage? They don't have any products, but that could be equilibrium. How can you tell? Because remember, at equilibrium, we have nothing left for sale and nobody wanting any more. How can you tell if you actually have a shortage then? So they don't have any products, but how do you know that there's more people wanting more?
So you have a whole bunch of people wanting the product, but you don't have enough to give to them.
Okay, so how can you tell that they want the product and there's nothing left?
You go to the store and there's nothing left.
Okay.
If they're asking.
They're asking for it if they have a special order. Have you ever heard of rain checks? Rain checks are less common. Okay, do you know what a rain check is?
No, I said.
Okay. A rain check is going to be where you want that item, and it's not offered all the time, but a rain check will be where you want that item, you go to the store, and the manager, you say, hey, I really wanted this item, you promised in your ad that you were going to have this item for this particular price, and they're all gone. They may, not always, may offer you a rain check. And so what they will do is they will say, okay, well, we have a truckload coming in on Thursday, and the price is going up, but because you're here and we ran out, we will write you basically a promissory note that when we get the truckload come in on Thursday, you will get this item for the price that it is right now. Okay? And so they will promise you to be able to do that. So that shows you that there's a shortage. Okay? People asking more for this item, that tells you that there's a shortage. There are more people out there that want the item, and there's just not enough to cover everybody. Okay? So that tells you when there's a shortage for real. Now, same thing when we talked about surplus, we can also talk about figuring out how much of a shortage there is. So, the greatest shortage, where do you suppose the greatest shortage on our graph is going to be? Where are we going to be the most products? Think about where the greatest surplus was. Where's going to be the greatest shortage? So our greatest surplus was the points that were furthest apart above equilibrium. Where's going to be the greatest shortage? Where are we going to be short the most?
Supply and demand are closest.
Where are they going to be closest together? Further apart? Let's look at the numbers. We'll take this point and I'll also take this point. Okay, so I picked out two prices. So the first one we'll look at is $1.50. So 50 cents below equilibrium. Okay? At $1.50, our supply, where our $1.50 price intersects our supply line, is at 5. Okay? $1.50 price intersecting our demand line intersects at 9. So how many ice cream cones are we going to be short? How many people are we going to have standing out there wishing they had ice cream? 4. We have 4 people wanting ice cream that can't get it. Okay? At 50 cents, okay? At 50 cents, you follow across, and you can see that at 50 cents, we have 1 ice cream cone that is supplied. That's where it intersects our supply line. At 50 cents, we follow across to where it intersects our demand line, and we have 13 people that want ice cream. How many people are not getting ice cream? 12. Okay, so where's our greatest shortage? So when they're further apart. The farther apart you get, the bigger the shortage, the bigger the surplus. So it's the same thing as when we talked about surplus. Now we're just talking about shortage. So the greatest shortage is going to be where supply and demand are furthest apart. So it's going to be the kind of the width of the triangle, you might say. Okay, the biggest width of the triangle. And again, in order to figure out how much we are actually short, we're going to do some subtracting. So we're going to take our demand, okay, subtract we're going to subtract supply from demand. I need to switch that.
So it's the same thing as the last one?
Short, yeah, kind of. Okay, so you're going to subtract your supply from your demand to determine the amount of shortage. Because remember, at this point, your demand is greater than your supply. Okay, so the greatest shortage is going to be the points where they're furthest away from equilibrium. So then our smallest shortage is going to be where? Closest to equilibrium. The closer you get to equilibrium, the smaller your shortage is going to be. So, your smallest shortage is going to be where supply and demand are closest together, right below equilibrium. So if we want to get technical, we could say that the smallest shortage is going to be at $1.99, because that's below equilibrium. Okay? So, we are going to use the points that are actually plotted, that's easier to actually calculate. Okay, so the smallest shortage is going to be where the demand and supply are closest together, and again, we're going to subtract the supply from the demand to determine the amount of shortage. Now, if we have a shortage, so we have people out there that want this item, and you don't have any left, what are you going to have to do? So if we're below equilibrium, we have this shortage, what are you going to do?
Get more stuff?
Okay, you're going to get more stuff, but are you going to leave it at that particular price?
No.
No. For the items that you have made out there, what are you going to do? You're going to raise the price, right? Your price was way too low. It was way too cheap. Okay, and especially those consumers are going to be upset that they had to wait for you to produce more of these items. So you're going to have to go and raise the price to be able to reach equilibrium. Okay? Case in point, anytime you have a hot ticket item, okay? For example, did you guys ever see those Tickle Me Elmo dolls?
Yeah.
Okay, those Tickle Me Elmo dolls. Tickle Me Elmo first came out in, what was it? 95, I think it was. 95 was the first year of Tickle Me Elmo, 95, 96. And it was just Tickle Me Elmo, you press his tummy, and he giggles and laughs, and that's about it. And he shakes, right? Okay. About 10 years later, they had Tickle Me Elmo Extreme. Did you guys see that one?
Yeah.
I have one at my house, and I brought it in before as a demonstration, but my Tickle Me Elmo, I think, is running out of juice, even with new batteries. But he has the extreme, because you can tickle him in 3 places, and he gets increasingly giggling, and he like falls over, and he's giggling, and he's like giggling on his side, and he rolls over to his tummy, and he like pounds his fists on the floor, and then he gets back up, and he stands back up, and he's like, and then he stops.
I think it's so Tickle Me Elmo was possessed.
No, that's Tickle Me Elmo Extreme. That's what that is.
Possessed them.
Okay? So, here's the thing though, is that the reason I bring up Tickle Me Elmo is that, okay, Tickle Me Elmo was a prime case of where we had way more demand than we had the amount supplied, okay? The extreme version, and I kind of remember the year that it came out just because my daughter was like 1.5 that Christmas when it came out, and they had all this hype over Tickle Me Elmo. So what happened to the amount of Tickle Me Elmos in the store?
They were non-existent.
Yeah, you could not find them that Christmas. Then all these parents were going around trying to find this Tickle Me Elmo. They could not find them. So, you can't find it, you know what happens, those the hot ticket toy items at Christmas, your kid has to have that toy.
You go to Amazon.
Yes! You go to Amazon, and what happens to the price you pay?
Goes up.
Woo! Way up, right? Sometimes, because like the original Tickle Me Elmo, I think was like $35, okay?
35 bucks.
Mm-hmm. There were people that were
Really?
paying online. There were people paying online 2 to 3 times that just to be able to get it at that Christmas. It was ridiculous. Now, I did not get mine then. My daughter got hers the following summer for her birthday. My sister-in-law bought it for her. Guess what? When she went to go buy it, she wanted to buy it for her for Christmas. She couldn't find it, and obviously she's like, I'm not paying ridiculous amounts on Amazon just to go buy her this toy. So guess what? When she went to later that summer to go buy it, what do you suppose happened to the amount of Tickle Me Elmos on stores?
Exploded.
Yeah, there was tons of them, right? Because they were going and reacting to the fact that they had all this shortage, and it takes a while to be able to get all of those toys back out into the hands of the stores to be able to sell to them. So by the time they replenished the supply, Christmas was over. The buying season was over, right? So by the time my sister-in-law went in June to go buy it, okay, there was tons of them on the shelf, okay? And as a result, okay, they had a found equilibrium after some trial and error, okay? But my point is that when you have a shortage, yeah, you're going to have to supply more, but you're also going to have to raise the price, okay? Because what you were charging was not enough, because otherwise you're just going to have a shortage again, all right? Does that make sense? Yes. Okay. All right. I do have a couple questions for you guys to answer on your ruler graph. So I want you to add these underneath your ruler graph. I have 4 questions for you. So I just went through and explained these. I want you to figure it out between you and your group. Is that good? Okay. So I'm asking you, at what price is the greatest shortage? How much of a shortage is there? At what price is the smallest shortage? How much of a shortage is there? At what price is the largest surplus? How much of a surplus is there? At what price is the smallest surplus? I gotta change that to surplus. How much of a surplus is there? All right, so I want you to write these down underneath your ruler graph, and then I want you to figure out the answers. You guys can work together as a group, and then we'll go over it.